Hi, everybody. It's Crystal David, your host for the Keep the Spark Alive Summit. And I'm here today with Ashley Brown, or also known as Ashley Empowers if you follow her on social media. And if you're not already, you're definitely going to want to by the end of today. So I just want to jump in, Ashley. I came across your feed on social media and I was like drawn into what you're doing. I love the stand you take in the world. I love just all the messaging that you send out of just inspiring women and I what really caught my eye was when you're talking about dating with purpose. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. But I just want to turn it to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What hats do you wear as a woman?
Yes, well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so grateful. And my name is Ashley Brown. Many people know me as Ashley Empowers. And like Crystal said, I'm the founder of Dating with Purpose. And me and my husband own a company called Brown Global Empowerment, where we travel and we speak on the importance of pursuing healthy relationships. And my brand, Ashley Empowers, is a women's empowerment, relationship empowerment brand where I help women with different digital products and services prepare for marriage. And I myself am married, I'm a wife, and I'm also a mother to a 1.5-year-old girl, which she keeps us super busy. So that's pretty much what I do.
That's so awesome. So I just want to kind of dive into that. How did you get into dating with purpose? So do you focus on preparing for marriage, or is it like dating your spouse? Like tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, definitely both. So, just to give you a little bit of background, I grew up witnessing a lot of dysfunctional relationships. And when I was 5, my parents divorced. And from that point on, I just saw a lot of negative examples when it came to marriage, when it came to relationships. And when I got old enough to date, I found myself repeating a lot of those same patterns. And so when I was 21 years old, I was in college and I was living in a sorority house, and I had an encounter with the Holy Spirit where I know now that that's what it was, but at the time it was just something like super strong on my heart. And God pretty much was telling me, like, Ashley, if you desire to be in this healthy relationship that you envision, I was going to have to change, because at that time in my life, I was just literally a hot mess. So I made a decision then to start pursuing healthy relationships, and it wasn't perfect. I still went through a series of toxic relationships, but I finally just kind of buckled down and got to a point where I was like, okay, the next person I meet, the next boyfriend I have will be my husband. And that's what happened. And we did not do like a traditional courtship. Like, we had our faults, but at the end of the day, I knew that there was a need to showcase healthy relationships, because I feel like in the media there's so many examples of relationships that are dysfunctional. So Dating with Purpose started with me just having this idea of interviewing couples who had healthy, thriving relationships and putting it out on YouTube. Started as a YouTube series called Dating with Purpose, where I'm just sharing people's stories. And since then, we've had over 4 million views, and people are incredibly uplifted and encouraged. And that turned into a speaking tour where me and my husband travel around and we go to different cities, actually sharing these tips that we've learned and that we've learned from other couples that have shared their story, as well as a book. And I just recently this past year released a book on dating with purpose, but it all came from me just seeing a need of light when it comes to relationships, and me just saying, well, I have the internet and let me just go ahead and do it. And I never imagined that it would turn into a career for me, but I'm grateful that it did.
Yes, that's so amazing. I think part of my passion with women is like we all have a gift. Like we all have a lane. There's something that we all have to offer. And a lot of times that is connected to your own story, your own path, your own testimonies and how you came through that.
Exactly.
Looking back and down and helping other people through that. So I love that you had that calling so heavily on you, because oh my gosh, you talk about the media, like, and that's what this, I'm so happy you're here, because this summit is really to just highlight that the media doesn't really tell us we can have it all. Like, it's like, okay, you can be successful, but you're not going to have a happy relationship, or you can be a mom, but then you need to give up the rest of your life, or
Mm.
you can have your career, but you can't have a healthy family. And so I believe we can have it all. It just takes some good, strong tools. So I'm so
Definitely.
excited. I just literally came across you, so I'm still learning about all the things you put out. I got to get to one of these tours, and I'm excited to just see how God's moving in your guys' life and in your movement. So that being said, what do you feel like is one of the biggest challenges of a marriage, and then what would be one of your tools for success to kind of overcome that? What could be something you could offer up in that area?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So, two things that I would say that just come to mind is one, mindset, and two, being intentional. So, when I say mindset, and this is for people that may be single going into marriage, maybe currently married, but I've been married 3.5 years, and before I got married, I had so many negative voices telling me that the first year of marriage was going to be the hardest year and the toughest year. But I had to literally reframe my mindset and cancel out those negative beliefs and say, no, this first year is going to be phenomenal. And each year after that is only going to get better. So I think an issue when it comes to relationships and marriage is your mindset, because so many people, they assume negative beliefs from their family, from their friends, from society, but you have to understand that you literally can decide what you are going to believe and your actions will follow. So mindset is key. And just personally speaking, we had a phenomenal first year, phenomenal second year, phenomenal third year, and we've had our issues. Like my husband, sometimes he gets on my last absolute nerves, but at the end of the day, we did experience some issues when I had a child, because I had to really learn how to balance being a wife and being a mom, because at one point it was like him just getting all of my attention. And now I have this child to take care of. And my solution to the issue of spending that quality time is being intentional. And any successful relationship, people have to understand nobody is truly rooting for you to have an amazing marriage. Nobody is going to come to me and be like, Ashley, let me schedule you the epic date night. No one takes initiative to do that. And as a married person, you have to be intentional about spending that quality time, about being affectionate, about scheduling your date nights. Because me, one of my love languages is quality time. Like, I have to have that quality time. And it really hit me like, you're complaining about this lack of quality time, but you have the control to be intentional and make it happen. But I just was having a conversation with my husband, like, nobody's going to do this for us. Like, we have to create this epic experience ourselves. And that's exactly what we do. We have date night every Wednesday, and we have, try to travel at least once a year by ourselves, sometimes more, but minimum once. So we have things that we do to keep that spark and be intentional about maintaining that oneness and that closeness when it was just us, because now our attention is divided and sometimes we're exhausted, but at the end of the day, it's just about being intentional.
Oh, that is so good, so good, because I mean, like I said, this has been like a series of hearing all these different things of advice, and one thing I can say is, like, it's like a choice, right? And I
Mm.
love your thought on the mindset, because that is so huge. I mean, I'm a huge believer and teacher that your mind controls everything. It's 80-90% of your life. You
Yeah.
you're gonna create what you create based on what's coming out of your mind, and so to apply that directly into the relationship, I've never thought of it from that perspective. Like no, I'm going to think this way, you know, I'm going to manifest it because of the way my brain is thinking about it. And I'm choosing to think positive and not take on, like you said, all those burdens from the past and from the society and the culture and friends. And that's amazing advice. And one thing you said too that stood out, I just shared this recently in one of the interviews, that was the amount of times in these interviews that the love language has been brought up. I tried getting the author, but obviously he's just so busy and pulled in so many directions. But
Mhm.
everybody has recommended that. I mean, you're probably like the fifth person. I say everybody, but it's come up. So again, because I don't know who's going to watch which interview in what order, but you guys have to go read that book or take the test online if you haven't already, because it's a common thread of knowing your love language. And if I can just share this quickly, um, I bought the book years ago, never actually read it and applied it, and then just
Mm.
kind of assumed I knew that both mine and my husband's love languages was quality time, because we both just, that's a priority for us. But we just recently, from one of the interviews, took the test again. And I say again because he never took it the first time. I took mine, but whatever. And mine was quality time, and his was words of affirmation. And I
Mm.
was like, OMG, because I always thought his number one was quality time. And so it makes so much sense why there's so many times where I think I'm doing my best and he does not feel appreciated and loved, but it's because I'm not
Mm.
voicing it as much as
Right.
and so I'm just sharing that as like a teaching moment for those watching. Like, take this advice and pair it with, go and do that test, because you don't really know until you know. And so I appreciate you.
And another word is to take it at different stages in your relationship, because me and my husband took it before we got married, and both of ours was quality time. But then one time we were on a road trip with some of our friends, and he was like, yeah, no, my love language is words of affirmation. And I'm like, no, it's not, it's quality time. So I'm like arguing with him what his love language is, but it changed. So
That's a
it
good
can also.
point. I like that. So maybe every couple years or so, take it again. So that's good advice. So let's talk about you for a moment. How does Ashley just keep a sense of self amidst all these roles that you're taking on and you're giving to your family, your business, and to the world? And so how do you just take care of yourself? What does that look like?
Yes. Well, first and foremost, I am not perfect Patty. Okay. Like, I am not perfect Patty, and I don't try to be. So I just keep my priorities in order. And even today, like, my priority was to take my daughter out of the house and go do something fun. And so when I woke up this morning and saw that the kitchen was a mess, my room, there's clothes that need to be done, that wasn't my priority. My priority was her. So really just being present and with the priority, whatever I'm doing at the moment. But when it comes to being a wife, a mom, a business owner, how I keep peace is by having moments by myself, because I'm really, people think I'm extroverted, but I'm not. I'm very much love to be by myself. And I find my most, what really fuels me is what I call going on prayer walks, where I'm literally out in nature, because I love being out in nature, and I'm walking and I'm talking to God about whatever issues, anything I'm worried about. I'm literally just pouring out. And when I'm on those walks, which is almost every single day for about 40 to 50 minutes, God just gives me so much wisdom, so much peace. And I just intentionally do that every day. And yesterday I only was able to do it for 15 minutes, but I was so full after that walk. So my number one thing is really, people talk about meditation, but mine is more of like an active meditation where I'm walking and talking. But that honestly is my number one thing, going on a prayer walk and understanding that, not striving for perfection, just like, I'm just like, it is what it is. Like, I don't, just being content, being present, and active meditation. That's really what keeps me going.
That's awesome. It made me think of this church that's by my daughter's school. The sign, like the big sign as you're driving by, says "No perfect people allowed," and I think that's so good, because like there is no such thing as perfect, Patty. So that's part of why I wanted to do this summit, to get behind the scenes of a life like yours, where if you're looking at you from the outside in, you do look perfect. You got this beautiful look, you got the nice Instagram feed, you have the husband, the daughter, you know, the business. And it's like, we forget that there's real life behind those doors of every single person, no matter how perfectly put together they look.
Yeah.
So I love that you're saying that, because that is a big message that I want this to drive home, is there is no such thing as perfect.
Right. And I guess one more thing that I would want to say, because I'm going to assume everybody watching this is not going to be at a place in their life where they're just super peaceful. So another thing that really helps is, we've already talked about it, is the mindset. There's a quote in India Ari. She has this song, and her quote, she says that she was talking to this guy in a different country, and she was like, man, living here is paradise. And he said, no, paradise is in your mind. And there have been times in my marriage and in my life where I think that I need to change something externally in order to feel better, and in order to feel more calm, in order to feel less exhausted. But it's always been a mental shift that had to be taken for me to really just be like, this is paradise. Like, I don't need anything outside of what I already have to feel good and grateful about what I have. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that again.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, we could talk mindset this whole 30 minutes, and I think it would be so much value, because it's what's robbing, you know, I call that mindset like the devil's in that head, constantly talking to us. Plus we got ourselves.
Yeah.
It's chaos. So I appreciate you adding that, because I think that's amazing. So how about when it comes to your relationship? I know you said you guys do date night every Wednesday and that kind of thing. What does fun look like for you guys? What does date night look? How are you guys keeping that spark alive with your marriage?
Yeah, so we're both like foodies. So finding like a nice restaurant, I love to get dressed up. So I'm like, pick somewhere nice that we've never been. So trying different restaurants can be a date night. I'm a huge outdoors person, so we can do something outdoors. This Wednesday, I love country music, which is like a shocker to like everybody that I tell, but I love country music. And a friend of mine took me to, it was like a country music swing dance place, which is like, I had so much fun. And we were like the only minority there, which is totally okay. But I told my husband that he should come. So they have like a country dance lesson, and then after that it's just like dance the night away. So that's something that we have coming up, but really just doing things that are more active. Like I went to a couple thrift stores the other day because I was looking to buy some tennis rackets, because a lot of times like going to a restaurant doesn't always feel like romantic and special, but just kind of being active, switching things up really benefits us.
Yeah, I love that. And like in my head, what I was thinking as you were saying that was just, it's the intention, right? Like you were saying, like just being intentional. And so for me, I'm thinking like just making sure that you start with just being intentional about having those date nights, and then you can start getting creative with switching it up. Because I can hear what you're saying. Like I think restaurants is probably 90% of our date nights too, but then it starts to become like a survival thing. Like, well, we gotta eat, like, you know.
Yeah.
Like, so I love that. I think that's great advice. So you know, you're on social media. That's part of how you use your business. So I would love to just hear any advice or tips that you have for how are you keeping sanity? How are you not getting trapped in the comparison game? How are you keeping, you know, all of that level-headedness alive amidst being on a social network for you know, a good amount of your time?
Yeah, no, that's a phenomenal question. And I've totally been caught in the comparison trap before. But one of the number one things that keeps me present is I don't have social media notifications on my phone. So I don't have Instagram popping up. Like if I want to see a comment or respond to somebody, I have to go click on social media. And the icons aren't just like on my main page. They're like in I don't know, like they're in a folder. So I have to like, so it's not as big of a distraction. And I had to do that so I wasn't constantly spending my time on social media. And with my career, my profession, I have to be active on social media. So now I've just gotten to a point where I'll have purpose for logging on. Like if I'm logging on, it's to engage with people for a little while or it's to post something. But as far as me just being on social media, scrolling, I don't do it. Like I don't have time for it. But and really just understanding that social media is everyone's highlight reel. So I'm not immature in my thinking when it comes to feeling like I haven't got anywhere in life seeing these people travel, because I've seen so many people that have these polished feeds that I know personally that don't have that internal piece that we were just talking about. And so to me, it's like, why covet someone else's life that you see on social media when you don't know the truth of behind the scenes? Like I know people that are married who I know personally that are going through marital struggles, but you'll see them on social media posting selfies, shouting out their husband like he's just like the king of the universe. And I'm like, am I crazy? Because you just told me that, so that's what I'm just like, you can take social media seriously, but don't take it too seriously because people only want you to see certain aspects of their life.
Yeah, that's huge. I had to do the same thing. My Instagram used to be like on the home thing. Now I have it on the very back in a folder.
Okay.
It had to like break that in that instant. Like, let me just go here for like it was
exactly.
awesome. So I think that's huge advice. I'm glad you shared that. And I'm gonna just keep mine there. So, who's somebody who inspires you?
Ooh, that's a great question. Someone who inspires me. Well, I'm inspired by you. I've done some internet stalking. So I feel like I know you. Like I commented on one of your pictures, like, can we just be best friends? So
Yes.
I'm inspired by you, what you're doing, being a wife, a mother of 4 kids, right? Yeah, like that's incredibly inspiring. And you're beautiful and you're doing awesome and amazing things. So I'm inspired by you. Someone else I'm inspired by is, who can I say I'm genuinely inspired by?
I know it's such a hard question on the spot because it's like there's so many people, but
yes.
Or you could take a book you're reading or something that you heard recently that gave you some like good inspiration.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's an easy, quick one. So a book that I'm actually finishing is called Secrets. Where is it at? Secrets of the Six-Figure Woman. That book is bomb. Have you read it?
No, I'm gonna add it to my list.
Yes, girl, add it. It is bomb, and it really helps women who are business owners, or if you're just working or climbing the corporate ladder, be intentional about running and operating a 6-figure business. And it has so many great nuggets that can be applied to all aspects of life. And the author is Barbara Stanny. I think it's Stanny, but the book is so bomb. It's probably one of my number 1 business books I've ever read. Secrets of the Six-Figure Woman.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna write that down because I'm like a junkie for anything like related to business and all of that. So I'm excited to check that out.
So bomb. It's so good.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that you, like you're saying, you can apply it to other parts of life. I think that's important. And one of my favorite quotes is like, how you show up to something is how you show up to everything. So if you can get good at business, you can get good at your relationship and your parenting and all of the above. And so I think that's awesome.
Yes.
So just before we kind of wrap it up, how would you define sexy? What does that feel like? What does that look like for you?
Sexy for me, if we're talking external, is skinny jeans, a white V-neck, and some heels. Like, I think like a good pair of high-waisted jeans, so physically, and some perfume. I think that's very sexy, and my husband loves just like that sleek, simple look. And I also think sexy is confidence. So you can really have on anything, but if you're carrying yourself with confidence, that's incredibly sexy.
What would be, just off the top of my head, because you're so wise in your words, what would be like your top advice for gaining confidence? How would you tell the women listeners to tap into their confidence? Because I think that's an interesting thing that a lot of us women struggle with.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay. This is so much. Like, this is a topic that I teach on all the time. But when I was at a place where I wasn't confident, it was because I was seeing something different than what everybody else was seeing. So I could look decent that day. I could be doing great things in my business, in my life, in my family, but I wasn't seeing that. And I went on a self-love journey, because when you're not confident and when you feel bad about yourself, people have a tendency to project how they feel onto other people. And I was sitting down for lunch talking with one of my mentors, and I was just like, man, I just feel like people are judging me all the time. And I was just telling her how I felt. And she said, Ashley, you're projecting that. That's how you feel about yourself. And I literally started bawling because she was so right. So I went on a self-love journey, so to speak. And I was just doing like a lot of research on confidence and building self-esteem, and really just to simplify the things that I've learned is, one, knowing your identity in Christ and understanding that there's no one on this planet that is like you. And a lot of times we try to conform to what we were meant to inspire. So we try to conform to people that we were meant to inspire. So for instance, Instagram, you see all these Instagram baddies, right? And people are just there's a lot of women who are trying to be like the next baddie. But it's like, if you just be your authentic self, you can inspire that woman to be herself. And it comes from knowing your identity in Christ. And also a TED Talk that I had listened to about confidence and self-esteem, a woman, she said something very powerful. Her name was Nico. If you just search TED Talk Nico, it'll come up. But she said, she was talking to one of her friends, admiring all these great things about this other woman. The woman was smart, successful, beautiful. And her friend stopped her and she said, Nico, you are those things too. Like, you need to meet yourself. And I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to confidence, they just need to meet themselves. You know what I mean? Like, just meet yourself. Like, yes, you can admire people, but those same qualities, if you're noticing it in someone else, you have those as well. Yeah. So knowing your identity and meeting yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And I know this isn't like a Christian base, which is my faith, but quote, but I think it's Buddha or one of those that says like, what you see in me is what you have in yourself, or something like, it's something along those lines. I don't know it by heart, but I love that saying, because it's so true. Like, what you're admiring in other people is usually those qualities that are strong within yourself. So I think that's amazing advice. I'm so excited for everyone to be seeing this interview, because you're just giving so much. I feel like someone could walk away from this interview and just have their life changed from just perspective and mindset and shifting how they go about thinking and stuff. So I appreciate that. So is there anything, I mean, you literally wrapped it up so beautifully, so I kind of already went here, but is there anything left that you would want to say before we tell the audience how to connect with you? I know you have a gift for us. So if there's any closing words, and then just share with us what you're sharing, what you're giving, and how we can get connected.
Yes. Well, no, I mean, just thank you so much for having me. And I think the last thing that I would say is just to not take anything for granted. And when you realize like this life is a gift, every season of life that we go through is a gift, and sometimes we take for granted things that we earnestly prayed for, and just having that mindset, like, it's all a blessing, and with blessings it comes burdens. You know, having a child, there are blessings, but sometimes they can be a burden. But it's just keeping a positive mindset and not taking anything for granted, because there are people that are literally like praying to be in your situation. So I'm on social media, like we discussed. I'm at Ashley Empowers on everything. My website is ashleyempowers.com. If you want to check out any of my series on YouTube, just simply search Ashley Empowers and you'll find me.
Awesome. So, and is there anything that you wanted to, like a special offer that you wanted to?
Oh, yes. So like I mentioned, I came out with a book this past year called Dating with Purpose, How God Turned a Hot Mess into a Housewife. And I'm literally offering this book as a gift to any person that is watching this. It's really my story of going from a hot mess and going to a wife and having a thriving, healthy relationship. And you can get my book for free at dwpbook.com. You'll get a free copy shipped to your door, and it's a special offer just for you guys that are watching.
Amazing. That's so cool. Oh, I'm excited to check it out. And thank you so much. Thank you for giving your time. I know your priority was your daughter today, so I appreciate you fitting this in. And that's just such a gift for all of us, being able to soak in all of your wisdom. And so I just appreciate you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you connect with Ashley and get some more of her wisdom. And I will see you all later.
Bye.